I had a great interview the other day with a local podcaster, and at the conclusion of the podcast, we ended up running out of time. But there was a follow up question about my time in the Air Force and some of the stuff I did down in basic training. So I thought I would take a few minutes to discuss that, to point out some of the things that were highlights of my time down there. Not because the specific accomplishments at basic training were uh, directly applied to day to day operations in Congress, but it speaks to where my head is when it comes to things like DEI, obviously a hot topic in politics today. So I've said publicly before that there have been the changes in DEI policy from the national level and the state level here in Oklahoma have been pretty drastic since I arrived in Oklahoma in 2023 to take my job here at the university, and somewhat heartbreaking. And I thought it was funny that well, not funny, actually, quite tragic, that things that 5 years ago or 4 years ago were highlights of an officer's career uh, will get you fired today. Or if it appeared on your performance report, probably get you yelled at. So I'm going to highlight a couple of those today. And on the screen here in a second, I'm going to bring up the bottom section of my performance report. So for background, for those who've never been in the military, every person in the military gets an annual report, essentially a report card that talks about their accomplishments and ranking them among their ranking each individual among their peers. And the format that's used are these bullet statements. At least they were back then. So what you're going to see at the bottom of the screen are from my 2022 performance report. At the time in 2022, I was down at Lackland Air Force Base, and I was the commander of basic training, which is the one place that all new enlisted members of the Air Force go for basic training. So I ran that organization at a really important time. I got there in 2021, and and I asked to go there. I had been a squadron commander there, which is the lower echelon of command below the group command that I was taking. And when I was there in the teens, we had begun some serious discussions about some great policy initiatives to improve basic training and make the experience more professionalized, and to ensure that the quality of training was equal across the board, and specifically that women in basic training didn't get a substandard or a modified basic training just because there were women. So we had started those discussions in the teens, and I'm sure that happened before, and it was a problem that was going to be hard to solve, but it was something that we wanted to do. And when I returned in 2021 to be the group commander, I was surprised that we hadn't done the follow through. We didn't do the integration that we had hoped for. Part of that was blamed on C-19, but the my analysis was that that was being used as an excuse to not do it, because not only was it somewhat hard, that is, it complicated the day to day at basic training, but there was serious resistance among people who didn't want to alter the way basic training was done. So we undertook that, and we made a huge push to fix that program, and to integrate the training down there. And so I'm going to show you on the screen. Pardon me looking away, but this is my the bottom line of my performance report from 2022. So um, the line I'm talking about here is the second one, where it says trained the way we fight, led gender integration for BMT. That means basic military training. Infuse D&I, which was the shorthand we use for diversity and inclusion, and the first service to implement and define dignity and respect for all. So I'll get back to the other stuff in a second. You probably saw some other trigger words down there, but um, that effort to make sure that when someone showed up to basic training, they weren't put into an all female or all male flight. Forgive these terms; that's just the terms that we use down there. To split people that way was not a had been happening for years. In fact, when I went to basic training in the 1990s, my whole unit was all male. There were no women in the unit at all, and I don't think there were any staff members that were women either. So we'd come quite a ways, but we had not cracked the code until I got there. And when we got to 2021, 2022 is when we really undertook that effort to integrate the flights. And what that meant was, aside from sleeping and showering, all the training was integrated. And the reason for that was because we want to make sure everybody got the same experience and there wasn't some women only version of basic training. So I'm proud of that work that we did there. And I left in 2023 to come here to Oklahoma. And honestly, I don't know if they've sustained that. If I were a bet man, I'd bet that it's changed significantly since then. But I'm not going to throw spears down to base training because they're running a really difficult mission down there. I know from firsthand experience, the last thing they need down there is someone who's not part of the fight to pitch in and tell them how to do their job. But I was really proud of that integration, and it was harder than the status quo, but that's no reason not to do something. In fact, if there's a takeaway to this that is a direct link to working in Congress, is we can't let just be the fact that something is hard stand in the way of us doing it. We got to do the right thing all the time, even when it's hard. That's the mark of true leadership, and gender integration at basic training was one of those things. So there you go. That's my part one of this. I'll talk about the other ones in a separate video.